Last year, we obviously had San Diego State, Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, but going into last night, people are like, UConn is repeating. This is going to be the first repeat champion since we saw Florida in the mid-2000s, and they get walked off the court last night by a Creighton team that just could not miss beyond the arc. Does this seem like, although you've got these top-heavy teams like Purdue and Houston and UConn and Arizona, does it seem like a year going into this tournament where realistically 15 to 20 teams could be Final Four and 10 to 12 could win this thing?
Yes, sort of, but I'm of the opinion, and I watched the game last night, and basketball teams are going to lose, particularly against a really good team who played really well in an extraordinarily hostile environment. That's one of the great arenas that you'll see. I haven't had a chance to be there in person before. I would love to go to Creighton. I've watched tons on television, and it is always dynamic. I'm not bothered in the least that UConn lost last night. UConn's the best team. Everybody talks about UConn and Purdue being a cut above everybody. UConn's a cut above Purdue, in my judgment. And they're a cut above that group of Houston, Purdue, and Arizona, and maybe Tennessee works its way in there, maybe somebody else as well. I think UConn's the best team, and if, not that I'm a gambling man, and anybody can lose. Anybody can step on a rake and hit themselves in the face, particularly in the NCAA tournament. We've seen it time and time again. But I'd pick UConn to win the national championship right now. They've got a better team. They've got a more versatile team. They've got something. They've got something for everybody. They've got a 7-2 giant from Bristol protecting the middle. They've got Newton. They've got Spencer. They've got Caravan. I mean, they just got. They have to help you. I mean, they didn't play their best last night. So if you're going to beat UConn, they've got to help you a little bit. So I still believe UConn is the prohibitive favorite. But I would agree with your premise that nobody's unbeatable, even UConn. But I would say beyond that, your numbers are about right, because it's going to be how the game's played. Are you hot that night? You get the wrong guy in foul trouble. Does the wrong guy twist his ankle at the wrong time? There's a lot of I hate to use the word parity, but there's a lot of similarity among all of that. 12 to 15, 16 teams below UConn, in my judgment. And UConn is a cut above, but not so far and away ahead of everyone that they're invincible.
Rece Davis with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Is this Purdue team, do we make too much of the fact that they have been an earlier than expected exit in the NCAA, or is that a real thing, and is this team built differently to avoid that?
Well, Billis and I disagree on this because he rolls his eyes at me. I've got to see it.
I agree, yeah.
Because I believe they're excellent, and I love Painter and had a chance to call a couple of their games a couple years back before we didn't have a contract with the Big Ten. I'm very fond of Matt and their program. I think they're an excellent program, but I believe in I guess institutional culture. And while they have a great culture of basketball, like a tremendous one, when you have had the number of high-profile failures on that stage that they have had, I think it creeps into your subconscious. So how do you exercise that demon? You continue to win, and you answer a challenge against a good team. If they get challenged by a 16 or a 9 in the second round and they fight it off and win, I don't believe that exercises the demon. But you let them get a really good 4. If somebody that said, hey, that's a 4, like UConn was last year, you get a really good team, they get challenged and they answer it, or they blow them out. That type of thing can get you over the hump. So I believe Purdue needs something mentally that happened on the court that they can't prepare for, that they just have to execute when the time comes. If they can get over that mental hump, they're certainly good enough to win it. But that mental hump has been so extraordinary for a multitude of seasons. I believe there's something to it. And, a lot of people scoff at that, but I believe in that. And I think they have to get past